Welcome to the 10 Count Boxing Podcast. My name is Cyril Lehung. Let's talk boxing. The business of boxing. What is this I'm hearing about Golden Boy Promotions and Saul Canelo Alvarez teams not happy with DAZN? Reports are that the broadcast app wants to reduce the amount of money they had guaranteed to Canelo, and they do not approve of the Mexican fighting Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders. That's strange to me because I would love to see Canelo fighting one of these guys. Surely Callum Smith, who is the number one ranked super middleweight in the world, is a good fight for one of the world sport's biggest stars. I mean, come on. I remember when Floyd Mayweather fought guys who were not the biggest stars in the world, guys like Robert Guerrero. Showtime made sure that they publicized them well enough so that the fight could be successful. Well, I'm sure you could do that a lot easier with Smith. I mean, surely. Talking about the business of the sport, this week I talked to a new promoter from Cape Town. Top ring announcer Devon Currer launched his company Kayo Promotions this week. This is what he had to say.
Hello everybody, and thank you very much, Cyril, for giving me the opportunity to chat about why I want to be a promoter on your wonderful platform. I've been watching your podcast grow over the last couple of weeks. It's absolutely wonderful content that you're bringing across. I love the interviews, and I'm honored to be part of the list of people that Cyril Lehung has interviewed for his podcast. Thank you very much, and may it long live. Why do I want to be a promoter? That's a question a lot of people ask me with wide eyes when I announce to them that, I want to do it. But, it's the natural progression of my life. I love fighting. I love the sport of boxing. I love mixed martial arts. I love wrestling. I think that it is now the right time in my life to step into that realm while still remaining a ring announcer. I don't plan on throwing in my retirement party for ring announcing at all. I still got a lot to achieve on that front, but there is a lot that I can achieve for fighting in the Western Cape, in Cape Town in particular, that I think has been neglected by a lot of promoters within Cape Town city limits, where Cape Town has become marginalized over the last couple of years. It's not seen as a fight venue when it has all the potential in the world to be one of the best fight venues in the world. Just like back in the 80s, my dad used to tell me stories about the Good Hope Centre on a Sunday afternoon. 10,000 people were rammed into that place watching the best fighters in the country duke it out. And, if you try and get 10,000 people to attend Newlands Rugby Stadium these days, it's hard when the Stormers are in town. But I relish the challenge. And my big aspect on promotion is I'm doing it for the fighters. I want to improve their lives. I want to give them better opportunities, more consistent levels of competition than what they've been used to, which has been fits and starts, to say the least, when it comes to boxing, mixed martial arts, and the like in Cape Town. So I'm going to be starting small. It's a long game. I have a 5-year plan. I have a 10-year plan. So don't expect me to be bringing any of the colossuses, is that even a word, of the heavyweight realm to the shores to do battle for the WBC belt on Robben Island or any of those kind of things. I'm under no illusion that this is a very, very long journey, but I'm young, I'm motivated, I've got fresh ideas, and it's time for me to give it a go.
Thank you for the support, Dave. Currer also told us what he likes most about combat sport.
I've announced boxing, kickboxing, bartender competitions, mixed martial arts. A lot of people don't know that my first paid gig I ever had was actually a mud wrestling competition at a certain gentleman's club around the corner from the boxing gym that I announced my first fights at. That's a story for another podcast, though, I think. When it comes to fighting, intrinsically, whether the fight is mixed martial arts, whether it's boxing, whether it's K1, the story is always the same. It's two young fighters, sometimes old fighters, oftentimes from the wrong side of the tracks, according to perception, depending on who is looking at it, where these young men and women get in there with the intent of knocking the other person unconscious. There is a deep-seated passion that I have for somebody who's willing to make that as their career choice, and that is their means of earning a living in this world. And I think it's something that needs to be celebrated. I think it's something that needs to be brought to the attention. I think fighters should be household names, full stop. Rugby players, yeah, that's cool. Cricket, fun. Tennis, But fighting, how are these guys not known? So, what brings me to the sport is that pure adrenaline of anything can happen. One punch could change it all. You think you know, and you think you've seen everything, and then suddenly it's thrown right out the window. That's something that only fighting can do, whether it's mixed martial arts, boxing, or anything else. So I'd say that is what excites me the most about fighting. The theater of the unexpected, the unknown, the shocker, the Andy Ruiz moment, those kinds of things are what draws me to the sport. I really, really want to paint that picture as why we need to know who these fighters are. If you're just a casual fan, not even a sports fan, maybe just, I don't know, a factory worker who doesn't care about anything but football. You need to know the names of these people because they're putting their lives on the line every single time they step into the cage, into the ring, and doing entertainment for people like us to cheer them on and follow their careers.
Many people in boxing know the new promoter on the scene as someone who calls things as he sees them.
I don't like most about the sport. Firstly, I'm glad to be able to say that what I don't like most about the sport is in the absolute minimum. Minority, it's tiny. I love the sport of boxing. What I don't like about the sport of boxing are the unscrupulous individuals who are still involved in the sport that blatantly hold it back for their own personal gain. I don't like the fact that in this country at the moment it feels like the youth are not being offered access to decision-making levels within the sport, within the running of the sport, within the promotion of the sport. We've always had to try and sort of fight our way in. And it's a lot of the time rubbing up the individuals who've held the fort for such a long time, who are unwilling to embrace the youth, embrace the fresh ideas. I hate to say it, but boxing is somewhat of a mess in South Africa. It's been like that for a very long time. It's got the potential to be something great, but there are instances where it gets to sort of walk 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And I think those instances are starting to dry up, but I think that's also because the youth are slowly but surely breaking down the wall, are able to access the sport more readily. And, I'd say the biggest problem with the sport in South Africa at the moment is its appeal to the youth of the nation. There's a market of people that are just not being catered for. Around the world, what I'd say that I hate most about the sport is belts, and more belts. You get a belt, I get a belt, they get a belt. Diamond, gold, silver, bronze, continental, planetary. It just goes on and on and on. Sanctioning bodies, these guys are belt cartels that offer minimal gain for maximum revenue. And I think that the sport, people have complained that there are too many belts in boxing for a long time. I think it's become an epidemic now where any event gets a belt printed for it, and I think it needs to come to an end because how is anyone going to follow a sport when they don't know who the man is?
I also asked him about the fights he looks forward to most.
Right, the section where I have been going mad on for the last couple of months that we haven't seen anything. The lightweight division, man. I want to see Tank. I want to see Garcia. I want to see Haney. I want to see Linares. I want to see how good these guys really are against each other. And then I want to see the winner of those, or the man who gets crowned among those four. Hey, let's just say there's probably 5 or 6 in that division who are all claiming to be the number one of the new generation. Loma, let's see. You know, we got Loma versus Lopez coming up. I think it's in either October or November. I can't remember. It changes quite often. But, you know, we will see who the man of that particular contest is. I want to see Garcia and Luke Campbell get it on. I want to see, I think Garcia should get past Luke Campbell, to be quite honest. And once he does that, if he does that, Tank is fighting against Leo Santa Cruz, who, unfortunately, I think that, you know, although Santa Cruz will have his moments, ultimately Santa Cruz is not a lightweight. He's going to get blasted. And there's some stupid 2-division WBA belt on the line. So it's junior lightweight and lightweight. So essentially Tank can decide whether he wants to come in on weight at junior lightweight or forego a couple pounds, pay a little bit of a fine, still fight for a world title, and bust a junior lightweight up at lightweight. I think that's, although it's a fun fight, there's a lot of things that the casual fan is not going to notice about that fight that are actually quite important. But yeah, that's, of course, the heavyweight division is always going to be fun to watch. You know, whenever the Gypsy King's around, things are always worth looking at. And AJ, you know, the clean-cut boy from Britain, turned his life around, got out of prison. Everyone's role model, the Adonis against the brash Gypsy King. Deontay Wilder's still there. Andy Ruiz is still there. You got Filip Hrgovic coming up out of the darkness. You got Usyk in the heavyweight division now. You got him fighting Chisora. I think that's going to be a cracker of a fight. Cruiserweights should be lively as soon as it gets going. You know, I want to see how good is Kevin Lerena. We've all been seeing him knocking over these old guys. Now it's time to put him in with somebody his own age with a real pulse rate and see if he's worthy of all the adulation that his promoter has been giving him. Junior Makabu, I want to see what he's got left in the tank. If he fights Tabisa again, I think that's a very important fight to make or consider making, and one that certainly can be made. Other than that, it's, to me, I think, personally, on a personal level, what I want to see is Maruti Mtulani unify the division and become the greatest fighter that South Africa has ever produced, the greatest flyweight of all time, the greatest fighter that has ever come out of the African continent. Because if he can do that, I think there is very little room for argument that he isn't any one of those things that I've just called him. I want to see him go out at the top of his career with as much of the gold as possible for one of the nicest guys that has ever graced the sport of boxing, and a person that I just want to see get every level of success that he possibly can. At 37 years old, time's obviously not on his side. There's a bunch of young killers who are after his belt, and he's after a young killer's belt as well. So, you know, I want to see Maruti Mtulani more than anything else. But hey, there's a lot to look forward to in the sport of boxing, man.
Well, that is all we have for this episode of the 10 Count Boxing Podcast. Please let us know, give us your comments, and who you'd like to hear from. Anyway, I'm Cyril Lehung, and that's the 10 Count Boxing Podcast.